In this little episode here, I'm going to be going over workflow, more specifically pose to pose as it contrasts straight ahead, and sort of why we use it and when we should use it, bearing in mind that every animator works differently and that when you're animating, every instance, every scene you start, you should at least assess what the best point of attack would be. With that said, let's go into our animation here. Right now I've got this little block out going on. Right now, more or less, 3 main poses. I've got some other stuff in there you can see over here as well. But as I jump through the keys here, we're just going to do a little emotion change. The idea for this motion change, as you can see as I scrub through, is I just threw it into spline, so it's pretty rough. There's a breakdown here that's pretty bland. I can definitely mess with that to make this more interesting. But to kind of block this in, I used a pose-to-pose method. I wanted the character to start here and end here. So these were the main actions I wanted to toss in. Now, you might think, well, when you break it down, you should probably throw in a pose-to-pose sort of breakdown where you have pose here, pose here, pose here. That's perfectly fine. Actually, most of the stuff we do, even when straight-aheaded, so to speak, will be some sort of pose-to-pose. To clarify that, I will show you how I would attack this scene, and obviously you can look at it and go, oh, you know, I probably wouldn't work it that way, I might do something different, but just to give you some perspective on workflow, I'll kind of go in and put in a little bit of drag, some overlap, so you can see how I might attack almost straight aheading between my pose-to-pose keys here. So first things first, I'm going to go ahead and mess with my frame 12 here. I'm not too happy with how that looks. What I'm going to do here is jump between these two poses, frame 8 and frame 12. Just kind of jump through and go, okay, what do I want him to do? Maybe I want the character to sort of do a nice under arc from here to here. Maybe have it so he drags his head back a little bit. So what I'm going to do there is grab this neck control and kind of just keep it so the head is tweaked back and jump between these. And what I'm kind of doing here is eyeballing where the nose is located. And you can see it kind of has a little bit of a drag there. I'm going to actually see if I can push it even further and jump back and forth. So now these two are pretty darn close. Now if I scrub through, I've got this sort of sigh and then quick turn. If I were to play it, go ahead and bring this in a little bit. Kind of scrub through so you can see it a little bit better. It's going to have quite a bit of width from here to there. So what I'll probably end up doing from here is in frame 14, grab this neck control, bring it down, maybe even arc the head a little bit. So it's going to swoop down and up into that. And don't be afraid to put, you might be like, oh, you put a breakdown in for just one control, and that's an isolated key. Once you have your timing down, it's okay to drop in keys like that. You might think, oh, well, that's messy or something, but if you're not changing your timing anymore, it doesn't really matter. The reasoning behind doing the pose-to-pose method is to sort of lay down your timing and have sort of an easy way to manipulate that timing through, you know, shifting keys in the dope sheet or the timeline. So really what I have here is sort of this head dragging and then whipping around. I'm going to probably add in to this breakdown some of a turn here Maybe even take this head and bring it back up. And again, jump between the keys. So really it's going to be torso turns, but head sort of stays. That's going to give us a nice little drag on the head, and then this delayed feel. Now I can add in, I've got some extra little stuff over here where he's kind of doing the Groucho Marx eyebrows. But you might notice that we have a really quick whip action over here. Now to make that work, I can't just have the character get into that pose and just stop abruptly here. So maybe we'll throw in a little bit of a head twitch. When you're doing an overlap, no matter what it is, you want it to continue the arc that it's taking. So it's coming up this way. So if I want to continue that arc, I'm actually going to bring it up in the same angle. Now I can bring in the graph editor real quick. And notice we have some overshoot going on through here. I'm going to bring in my trusty sidekick, the auto tangent script, and just kind of tweak that so it gets rid of the overshoots that are going on. So now when we look at it, we'll have this sort of whoop, he'll hit his pose and then go slightly beyond and then down again. Now in my opinion, this looks like it's kind of coming up a bit too much, so I'm going to take the pose from frame 18 and replace 20 with 18. You notice what that did to the graph editor here. I'll undo and redo so you can see it. I pretty much just cut that distance down, so now the overlap will be there, but it's not going to be as prominent. Now bear in mind, there are a lot of things when you're animating that you'll want to straight ahead. You can pose to pose things like the antenna here, but I can tell you that for something like this, you'd probably want a more intricate animation for these kind of things. So like this, I mean, you can drag that, bring these over. These can be huge for overlap, and then maybe even bring it so they're down. And what we can do is, once we bring them down there, overlap them a little bit, bring them up, and again, have them rest. Now, in order to get some overlap here, I might want that highest position to be a bit delayed. Now, a lot of the times, these two controls aren't going to cut it. In this instance, I would probably toss on these guys. You'll be able to get a far more intricate curl with these. You can definitely get stuff like this, where it's a bit sharper, and you'll have a nice unfold pose if you do stuff like that. But for simplicity's sake, we'll just keep that stuff moving. And what I can do here is just toss together a quick play blast. Make sure that's And what we have is this nice quick sweep of the head. This is sort of a more cartoony style where a character kind of would pop into another emotion as if he's like sort of split personality or something. Think of there being like a vertical line, and when he's on this side, he's, you know, this sort of angry character, and then as soon as he crosses the line, he's someone entirely different. But that is essentially how I would attack blocking a scene. I would put in, going back to our shot here, I would put in the overall poses. So I had 8, 12, and 17. These were my overall breakdowns. 12 was really kind of bland. It was like almost an exact 50% pose. There was nothing to really bore out an arc. There was nothing to really accentuate the timing. It was all very evenly timed. So when doing stuff like this, just even straight aheading from 12 to 17, there's mostly, I mean, that's really all I did through here, is accentuated this arc. I only would straight ahead the things that needed it. So there you have it. Thank you for watching.